There's a new kid in town. Great expectations. Everybody's watching you. James Harden's Nets debut. How will he fit in with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? Well, Irving not playing. Harden visiting Orlando fits. He had a historic night. He was 0 for 2 in the first quarter with 2 turnovers. That's his first bucket as a net. And then how about this? Fancy. He had 5 assists in the second quarter. A little behind the back to Jeff Green. Let's take another look at it. It's all about vision, man. We're locked up in a tight one against the Magic here. Let's keep it in the second quarter. Harden, he had 2 steals in the second quarter. Here's one of them. You better run. Runs the floor. Joe Harris. Hey, Joe! And then Harden drives and, listen, better find the dude who butters the bread, and that's that dude right there, Kevin Durant. He had 16 in the first half. Nets up 7. Harden running the floor. Green. Harden looked in fine shape. Take another look. And our analysts say, hey, listen, his assists are going to go up, his points are going to go down. Harden, 8 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 turnovers in the first half. The Nets are up 2. Let's go to the third quarter. How about a highlight that's Harden free? It's Kevin Durant throwing it down. Back to Harden. Dribble. Step back, Bobby Jack. 3 of 10 from 3. The Nets up 3 after 3. Let's go fourth quarter. Still tight. All right, Harden drives. I mean, listen, he garners attention. He's a great player. He's an 8-time All-Star. He's got a couple gold medals, 3-time scoring champion. And that's what happens. Durant, 42. Harden, triple-double, 32 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists. He was 1 turnover away from a quadruple dubious. The Nets win, 122-115.
It felt unbelievable. I hope you can tell by my smile and my play. Whoever has a hot hand, that's who deserves the ball. You know, the basketball finds energy. It finds people that have good energy, good spirit. So that's what I try to bring to the game tonight. I'm so excited for Kai to get back. You know, he's a key piece to what we're trying to do. And, the chemistry, as soon as we can build that, as soon as we can be on the court together, it's going to be scary hours.
Hey, man, it was scary here. It was historic. Most points scored and assisted in a team debut in NBA history. Just last season, Kyrie Irving created 67 points, 50 of which he scored in his debut with the Nets. Harden scored or assisted on 64 points in his debut with the Rockets back in 2012. He had 37 points, 12 assists in a win against the Pistons. And then in his Nets debut, Harden scored or assisted on 63 points, 3rd most all-time. He becomes the first player in NBA history with a 30-point triple-double in his debut with a team. Our research, it's better.
Guys, we should potentially see the big 3 there in Brooklyn for the first time tomorrow. What do you expect, Stephen A?
I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I mean, first of all, it's not what we see now this weekend. It's what we're going to see in the weeks to come. James Harden has been out of shape, so he's got to get himself in shape. And Kyrie Irving has been out for whatever reason, and now he's expected to come back. So James Harden's got to get his body together. Kyrie Irving has to get his mind together. Once that happens, then you see the big three on the court, and then you judge them as the big 3. Right now, they're just individuals that are playing together. They're not necessarily a team. The only person that's been a consistent model of a teammate has been Kevin Durant at this particular moment in time. I believe in Harden personally. I know he's been taking a lot of hits and what have you, but he was just trying to get himself out of there, and we understand all of that. He doesn't engage in load management. He gives it to you. In the case of Kyrie Irving, those 5 games, Kyrie Irving in the 72-game season this year, guys, is getting paid $464,000 per game. So him being out or being penalized for these 5 games without pay is going to cost him in excess of $2.3 million. I hope it was worth it for him.
First, let me say, I hope Kyrie's personal life is in order. I hope he's okay. His loved ones are okay. If he's taking personal time and it's costing him millions of dollars, I hope he's okay.
I hope he's okay.
Genuinely. That's number 1. Number 2, guys, if these guys can get their egos on the same page, KD, James Harden, and Kyrie can all score at every level. at an elite level at every level, long range. Harden doesn't shoot the mid-range, but certainly they can score mid-range and in the paint. And then you add Joe Harris, who's a better shooter than any of those guys. Like, that starting five is impossible. And I'm just looking forward to watch. I just want to see it. I hope Max, they can get on the same page because I want to see it.
Max, you know what I forgot about? You know what we both forgot to mention? Harden is going back to join Mike D'Antoni, who's Steve Nash's lead assistant. Totally forgot.
That's right.
Totally forgot. Totally forgot. I didn't even think about that until last night. He's back with Mike D'Antoni.
Interesting.
Loved playing for Mike D'Antoni.
They're going to score some points, Stephen A.
They're going to score some points. Nobody's going to stop them from scoring. They're going to score some points.
No question.
They should be the number one offense in the NBA, easily.
And gentlemen, time for the latest in the Kyrie Irving soap opera. Let's break it down. Kyrie has been absent for 4 games now, not expected to be back in the lineup through the rest of this week. There was the going maskless at a family's birthday party. There also was a Zoom call last night. And, we had to bring in Kendrick Perkins to get his thoughts on this whole shebang. But, Stephen A., we're going to start with you here because you had a lot to say earlier on in the show. Do you think Kyrie is worth all of this drama?
I do not. And I'm not talking about him as a talent because I think he's a superstar caliber talent. But Kendrick Perkins, just so you know, because you weren't here at the top of the show, I'm going to reiterate what I said in front of you at the top of the show, KP. I think Kyrie Irving should retire. Retire. Period. You don't want to play basketball. What the hell are you here for? I mean, the bottom line is that you are paid to play the game of basketball. And this is what people is missing, KP and Max. Here's what people are missing. Yeah, you're taking time off. Yeah, you might be docked some pay. But guess what, y'all? If I'm getting paid $33.4 million for this season, right, I might deduce that if I take off the next 5 or 10 games, right, then what that means is that, okay, I might lose some pay, but I'm going to still pocket about $25 million for the rest of the season. So it's almost like a vacation for you because you're taking time off, and even though you ain't getting paid, you can afford it. So it doesn't mean anything to you. You see what I'm saying? So that money that you're guaranteed, at least a chunk of it, is still going to be there for you. Meanwhile, you've said to the Brooklyn Nets, listen, y'all are not a priority. You said to your boy, Kevin Durant, you're not a priority. You said to Steve Nash, a coach you endorsed arriving, you're not a priority. You said to Sean Marks, who gave you 4 years, $141 million, all right? Then you showed up and only played 20 games. Kyrie Irving, until this season began, had not played since February 1st of last year. February 1st. And then he was out, he didn't participate in the bubble. Remember, the season was canceled March. He hurt his shoulder, he was out. So you didn't play since February 1st. You're off until the following December. And somehow, some way, you need time off because you've got personal issues. You have a job. You have teammates that are dependent on you. You got Brooklyn, New York that's starving to see you. You got championship aspirations. Kevin Durant is fresh off of playing, having missed 18 months because of an Achilles tear in the finals. And he comes back a year and a half later, and he giving you 29 a game on 53% shooting, 44% from three-point range, but could use your help because when you're not there, it puts more of the onus on him to replicate things like what he did last night against Denver and closing them out with a 34-point performance and closing the deal against them. But it puts more on him. It doesn't matter to you. And why? Because of what's going on here in the streets of America and in the world. We respect where you're coming from with that because we know your heart's in the right place, Kyrie. I ain't trying to slip on that, throw shade on that by any stretch of the imagination. But what you're doing is clearly selfish and it's entitled because you don't, you're going to have a job waiting for you whenever you in the mood to come back. You got that kind of mentality, it's time to go. I believe that Kyrie Irving should retire from the game of basketball until he's ready to come back and make it the priority he's paid to make it. Until then, he should retire, KP.
Let me say this. First, because he's taking the time off for personal reasons. Kyrie, I hope you're okay. I hope your family's okay. I hope your loved ones are okay. And whatever personal reasons, you get straightened out. That's the first thing. As a human being, I hope he's all right. And the people he loves are all right, you know. Second, the super talented don't always play by the same rules as everyone else. If Dennis Rodman missed the team bus or went to Vegas in between games, he'd get away with it because he grabbed 17 boards and helped you win championships. The Chicago Bulls years I'm talking about. Kyrie is a super talented player who puts on a show on a nightly basis. And so he has some leverage here. Because the fact is, particularly with Dinwiddie's injury, that even if Dinwiddie was healthy, this Brooklyn Nets team ain't winning a championship without Kyrie. Now, they might not win one with him either, and that might be his fault. Because you guys were telling me the whole time KD is still going to be just fine and da-da-da-da-da. And I was cautious. I wanted to see, but I've seen. KD is spectacular. He looks like KD to me. He had something like 12 dimes yesterday. Like his passing game in the last several years of activity has been getting better and better. He's just the complete package. But KD can't do it by himself. And by the way, he has a nice supporting cast, LeVert and Allen and these guys. They ain't going to win no championship without Kyrie Irving. What it really comes down to is Kyrie going to be the dude who made the Celtics worse and then the Nets worse over the last couple of years? Or is he going to be the dude who, when he's clearly not the best player on a team, when there's another dude as talented as him but a foot taller, like LeBron or KD, so he has to recognize, okay, I have to defer to that guy. When he's the second banana, can he help KD win a championship the way he helped LeBron? That's the question right now. But he has some leverage because, guys, if they don't bring him along, if they can't get him back into the fold, this next season can be successful, but they ain't going to challenge for a title.
Well, I say this, Stephen A. Max, look, both of y'all have valid and great points, and I can't disagree with either one of you guys' points, but I will say this, right? When you look at the situation with Kyrie and what he's doing right now, I was the first to react and tweet out and said, you know what we're going through in America right now, I support Kyrie 100%. I support any player that feel like they don't want to play or don't want to step on the court for a couple of games. Okay, cool. If that was the reason. But now, since things have transpired, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, is Kyrie worth the drama? Hell no. And if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm calling up the Houston Rockets today, trying to trade him for James Harden. Because here's the deal. It messes up the chemistry. It messes up the flow. Steve Nash didn't even know he wasn't playing the night he decided not to the first game. That's a distraction to the ball club. That is a problem. And who's to say he's not going to do it again? Whenever Kyrie don't feel like playing, he's just not going to show up and not going to text anybody or call anybody or call anybody back. That's not the way to go. But on a further note, here's the problem that I have. We're dealing with a pandemic. People in the world are starving for jobs. If you have a job, you are in a great situation and you ought to be thanking God because you're blessed. Here it is, Kyrie has a job. He has a job that is paying him close to $35 million a year and you're not showing up to work. They have people losing money daily, cannot pay their rent. And then on top of that, you are the vice president of the Players Association, the vice president. And when I came on here a few months ago before the pandemic, when Kyrie was talking about when they was thinking about doing the bubble, and he was saying, oh, I don't want to go to the bubble and we should not play and this, that, and the other. And I said the blind is leading the blind, and this is why. You're at a family gathering party with no mask, diddy bopping, like it's nothing committed to playing the game of basketball. And I know James Harden is being a distraction in Houston. I get that. But he wants out. The brother wants out. And he wants to come to the Brooklyn Nets. We all know this. So I'm saying, looking at last
Philly
night,
now.
looking at the Houston Rockets, well, Philly too. But I'm saying, if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm calling about getting rid of Kyrie, and that's just period point blank.
Well, let me say this to you. It's Philly more so than Brooklyn now, KP. I found that out about 2 hours ago because of the Kyrie situation in Brooklyn. That's why James Harden would prefer Philly over Brooklyn right now. That's number one. Number two, I was talking to a couple of folks, a couple of high-ranking officials this morning, Max and KP, along with at least one owner and at least a couple of big-time agents. And they all echoed the same thing that somebody just texted me a little while ago. It says here, Kyrie might be close to ending his career because dealing with him is entirely too risky. He can't be trusted. They went on to say, nobody's bigger than the game. The train will head to the next station. And the Brooklyn Nets may have grounds to terminate his contract if he keeps this up, period. Now, I want y'all to take that into consideration.
Wow.
The Brooklyn Nets could potentially terminate his contract because he's taken personal reasons. He hasn't articulated and elocuted what those personal reasons are. We've seen him on video and in photos violating league safety and protocols, therefore endangering the brand. He's come across as incredibly selfish and obviously really about himself and what he's thinking. He's been on the record calling folks peons, okay, because he's of a higher plane and a higher thinking than most of us. So in other words, where he's coming from and where his intellectual capacity is, Max, and what he's thinking about and what's permeating his thoughts and his mind, it's so far above us right now. We can't really see the plane he's floating on. Meanwhile, he's in the midst of getting paid $33.4 million. It doesn't work. You got to give up something. So the challenge here is to say, Kyrie, and again, he doesn't have to give up his thoughts on the personal issues he wants to address or the issues that permeate our society. We should applaud him for that. All we're saying is you got to show up to work too, like everybody else does. You can't sit up there and skip your responsibilities in order to address the concerns. You have to find a way to do both. And if you can't do both, I think we'd all respect Kyrie Irving if he sat up there and said, you know what? That would be selfish of me to sit up here and collect money from Brooklyn while I don't want to play. So, you know what? So I'm going to pass it up. I'll just retire from the game of basketball and I'll dedicate at least my immediate future, if not my life, to these issues that are so near and dear to my heart. He's not doing that. He's trying to get the money too.
Let me say this, Stephen A. I would implore Kyrie, and I know he talks about how smart he is, and you've told me, and many people have told me how smart Kyrie Irving is.
He's not dumb.
I have yet to see evidence of it when he opens his mouth. However, maybe it is true, but I agree his heart seems to be in the right place. Let me say this to Kyrie Irving. I would implore him to not do what you're suggesting, Stephen A., because I don't care how talented you are, and he's extremely talented. Skill and talent are different. Skill you must acquire. Skill takes years of practice and dedication, and you have to have passion to acquire the kind of skills that Kyrie's obviously spent a lifetime acquiring in basketball. I would urge you, Kyrie, not to throw that away, because you put in clearly too much work. And forget about just the economic benefits, the $30+ million a year. The fact is, it provides a platform. If you're interested in making real change, it helps you do that. And finally, guys, the physical prime is fleeting. You have the rest of your life, not to say you can't also pursue that now, but the rest of your life to do everything else you want. This is the only time you have to do the thing that you've put in so many hours and such a huge percentage of your life building to this point.
Circulating social media of Kyrie maskless at a family birthday party, potentially leading to more of an extended absence for the point guard. He was already ruled out for a fourth straight game last night. And according to sources of ESPN, will miss tonight and Saturday's game as well for personal reasons. Kyrie also seen last night taking part in a Zoom call for a Manhattan District Attorney candidate that took place just moments before the Nets tipped off against Denver. Stephen A. now here with us. Welcome to the show, Stephen A.
Thank you.
Max has already responded to this, so I want to ask you, do you think that Kyrie is worth all of this drama?
No, he's not. He's not worth it at all. A matter of fact, let me say this straight up and down. I think Kyrie Irving should retire. I think he should announce his retirement today. Clearly, you don't want to play basketball bad enough. Now, you might still want to get the $33.4 million, obviously devoid of some of the docked pay you'll receive because you haven't complied with safety protocol measures. And as a result, the league is going to determine when you come back instead of yourself or taking personal leave and obviously forfeiting game checks or whatever the case may be. But still in all, at the end of the day, you know what? You're still going to get, in excess of $20 million at the very least, even though you're on the books of $33.4 million this year. Kyrie Irving has not prioritized basketball. I'm not saying he doesn't want to play all together. I'm saying he hasn't prioritized it. And how fair is that to the Brooklyn Nets? How fair is that to Sean Marks? How fair is that to Steve Nash, a coach that he endorsed bringing on board, a coach that he wanted, a coach that he fully supported? How fair is that to his brother, Kevin Durant? Now, we can sit up there and say what we want about Kevin Durant, temperamental and all this stuff. This brother is a superstar and answers the call the way superstars are supposed to answer the call. Whenever he can play, he does play. That's who Kevin Durant is. He loves playing the game of basketball. He can play it for a lot of money because he's so great he commands it, or he'd play for free. But he'll play anywhere because that's who he is. Kyrie Irving clearly is not interested in doing that. And that's the problem. So guess what? Go ahead and retire. Go ahead and retire until you know that you're committed to playing. And the reason why I seemed a bit perturbed and a bit disgusted by all of this is because Kyrie Irving, this is what's going on right now. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening in this world over the last few months, as we all know, social justice issues and beyond, and we get that. And Kyrie Irving's heart is in the right place. He wants to do a lot of things for the community. He wants to do things to uplift the community, to address some of the concerns, the things that have ravaged our communities for many, many years. He wants to do all of that. In that regard, his heart is in the right place. He's philanthropic. He's very charitable with his time, with his donations, and things of that nature. Just the other day, we saw him on the phone with some congressional figure. I don't know who it was. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. But clearly trying to address some of the concerns that are ailing our society and our community. We understand that. Here's the problem that I have. He acts like he can't chew gum and walk at the same time. You can do that after you fulfill your duties or in the midst of fulfilling your duties.